Hi everyone, Sunny here. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update in terms of what I've been doing for the past few years. Some of you are aware of some of it, and those who are members of the Live Brave group will have a little bit more of an idea about what I've been up to. But I wanted to share with you what I'm doing and let you know what's coming up as well in my life. So, strap in. I'm going to give you the very, very brief 5-minute version. I will be going into a lot more detail in terms of what I've been doing and how I've been doing it in the upcoming courses and books I'm going to be putting out. But for now, I wanted to give you a little précis version, a little taster in terms of on where I've been at and what I've been doing. So I am overwhelmed with questions all the time. Is like, so how do you do it? And a lot of people ask, how do you do it from an economic perspective? How do you do it from an emotional perspective? How do you manage to travel all the time? And also, how do you live with just a backpack for 7.5 years? Literally, I have just a backpack for 7.5 years. I don't have a home anywhere or any magical stuff anywhere. All I live with is a backpack and a front bag for 7.5 years. So it's been an incredible journey on so many levels, and there's so many stories in multiple areas in my life. And so I will actually be sharing quite a lot of that, and a lot more than a lot of people will expect. So the journey actually started quite some time ago. My first solo journey was about 8.5 years ago in Mexico. And I went through for a month throughout Central America. And that was an incredible experience, and it gave me the biggest taste about this magical world that we do actually live in. And so I got a taste for it, and then started traveling full time about a year and a half later. And that year travel, I'd planned only for a year travel, turned into 2.5 years of travel. Which then led me home for a little while, and I ended up working in a government department in Victoria, and I was doing some strategic planning for this government department for the next 3 years. And I thought, well, if I can plan a whole government's department's work for 3 years, I should be able to be doing that with my life. So I asked myself the question, what do I most want to be doing with my life right now? And so the answer was to write a book. And I thought, I can live in Melbourne for 1 month, or I can live in Thailand for 6 months for the same amount of money. So I took off to Thailand, and I lived in a beautiful rustic cabin on the beach for 6 months. It ended up being. I hadn't planned to be there that long, but as life happens, that's what I ended up doing. So I was in Thailand for a magical place for 6 months, and then I thought, I've got a little bit of money left over. What am I going to do? And I always wanted to go to Nepal. I'd heard a lot of great things about Nepal, so I booked my ticket, and I thought it's a cheap enough country to survive in for a little while. And so I booked my ticket to Nepal. 2 weeks later, a massive earthquake hit, killing about 10,000 people. So, which is incredibly traumatic. Most people were changing their tickets, leaving the country, and I ended up being the only woman and the only white person heading on the plane from Kuala Lumpur to Kathmandu. And it was complete devastation. And because I have certain skills that not everyone has, I ended up volunteering for 5 months full time for 2 amazing organizations. I was very fortunate to connect with some amazing people there doing some incredible things in the communities there. I love Nepalese people, thank you, Dhanyabad to everybody. It was an amazing experience, but I didn't write for those 5 months at all, because I'm kind of like a one focus girl. Once I'm into something, it's 150% and that's it. So I decided I needed to get back to writing. When I was in Thailand, I also, on a very random mosquito-filled, hot, sweaty night in my bungalow, woke up and decided to write the first book that I actually published first, before going back to the book that I started to write when I first went to Thailand. Now that book, very excitingly, has just been finished in draft form. So 4.5 years later, I have finished the book that I started to write. So I'm super excited about that, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So I decided, very, very busy with Nepal. In the middle of Nepal as well, in the middle of those 5 months, I ended up going to Doha and Qatar to cat sit for a month, which was amazing, and such a cultural contrast between Qatar lifestyle and Nepali lifestyle. So it was an amazing, amazing experience in between. So I ended up getting another house sit and pet loving sit in the south of France for 3 months over winter, which was an incredible experience. So I finished writing the first book that I published there, and went into the process of working out how to publish and what to do, and that process took quite some time. When I was there, I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? I really want to get into the next book, and I still need some more time. Very fortuitously, friends of friends offered for me to come and live in their beach apartment in an hour outside of Casablanca in Morocco for 3 months, and that was an incredible experience, and super grateful to them for that experience. So I lived in Morocco, and then got my first book out, or finished my first book then, and then I got some house sitting and pet sitting gigs in Europe. And before I went to Europe, I had a month, so I went back to one of my favorite cities in the entire world, which is Istanbul. If anyone knows me, they know I talk about Istanbul quite a lot. I love it. And that was incredible, living in with a feminist community in Istanbul, and that was just such an amazing experience. And then I did some pet sitting throughout Europe, and in between seeing some old friends, which was amazing. And then I decided, okay, so I need another cheap country to continue to write, so where will I go? So I decided to go back to the south of Morocco, and I found another beautiful, very cheap apartment in this ancient city on the water. It was an incredible time there, and I got into that, and I started to do a lot more coaching at that point as well. So then I left Morocco pretty quickly, and I only had a little bit of money left, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to extend my time. I had a bit of a traumatic experience in Morocco, so I decided that I needed some friend time, and some friends were in Cambodia, and so they invited me to come, and so I thought, what a great experience. And so I decided to go back to Cambodia. This is like 5 or 6 years, or 6 years after I first went to Cambodia for the first time, and I have always loved Siem Reap. So I arrived in Siem Reap, and then the second night I was there, I met this guy who was starting up a business, and after a few days we decided we would work together, and so I came on board an incredible team in Cambodia, very racially diverse team, which was amazing. And I worked with the team for about 10 months to set up the business and the non-profit arm there, which was again an amazing experience. And I decided I needed some time back in Australia to connect again with friends and family, because it had been 3.5 years since I'd been to Australia. After all of that, it's amazing. And so I went back to Australia. I spent a few months connecting from one coast to the other with friends and family. Incredibly nourishing, amazing experience. And I was thinking about setting back up in Melbourne and doing some contract work there. And then I realized it was my birthday coming up, and I thought I needed to buy myself a birthday present. No one else is going to buy me one. So what do I most want to do? And so I decided to do a self-development course in Costa Rica. I'd never been to Costa Rica before, and I thought that would be a great opportunity to do that and then come back to Melbourne. And of course, once I decided to do that, then I was offered an amazing house sitting gig in Costa Rica. So I decided I would stay and continue to write my the second book that I've just finished writing. And so I had also some time in between the house sitting gigs starting. So I decided to go to Cuba for a month. I'd always wanted to go to Cuba, incredible place. And then I went back to Cusco in Peru. I always wanted to go back there, and it's certainly one of my spiritual homes. I really feel connected to that place, and so I will be going back there again in the future. So so I went back to Cusco, then came back to Costa Rica to do the house sitting. Again, amazing adventures awaited there. And so for the last 4.5 months, I've finished my second book, and it's currently in the process of editing. And I'm well into my third book now, and I'm also developing a few courses. So it's an incredible, exciting time. I've got so many projects on and so much I want to share with the world. And I've all had this opportunity through just going and choosing different paths constantly, but also I have a very, very strong focus of what I want to share with the world, and how I want to help a lot of people in these ways that I'm doing now. So I am so excited about the upcoming months, and I'm really excited to share with you what I have been producing, and I really hope that it might connect with you, that you might really enjoy it. If you want, you can sign up to my newsletter, and then you get to hear the latest first. Yes, and so I will be talking also a lot more in the future about more specifically, because this is a very short version of what I've been doing, but I really want to get into the nitty-gritty and really specifically outline exactly how I've done what I've done and the tools that I've used to do that. So I'm excited about sharing it with you, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you've found it mildly enjoyable, this very short version of this story, and look out for what's next. And thank you so much. Bye.